The X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome to the X Zone, everyone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in Niagara, Ontario, Canada. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, X Zone Radio TV. To find out about the broadcast schedule of the X Zone Broadcast Network, which broadcasts 7/24/365 with our compliments, and includes such shows as A Different Perspective with Kevin Randall, Connecting with Coincidence with Dr. Bernie Beitman. We have Mission Evolution with Gwilda Wiyaka. Too Good to Be True with Justina and Peter Marsh. And these are just a few of the shows that we have available for you 7/24/365 at www.xzbn.net. Now, to watch the X Zone TV channel on Simul TV, just go to www.simultv.com, and in the search engine on the main page, just click in X Zone. It'll bring you to our channel where you can either sign up and watch the channel, or you can actually just click on the guide to see what programming is on that day. It's that simple. And I must tell you that we are really thrilled at the results we're getting on Simul TV, and as this is our 30th year of broadcasting this show on air, it just seems that we keep on growing. Now, also, before we get to our very special guest this hour, the X Chronicles newspaper is always available and always current and recent at www.xchroniclesnewspaper.com. My guest this hour is Michael W. Hall. He is a former Superior Court Judge Pro Tem, certified Mediator, and the founding partner of the Hall Law Firm. Michael received his bachelor's degree in 1976 from the Edward R. Murrow College of Communications at Washington State University, and his, specializing in broadcast journalism, and a doctorate of jurisprudence in just 2 years from Southwestern Law School in Los Angeles. Now, with a lifelong interest in UFOs, or what we now call UAPs, and he became an investigator into the UFO phenomena. But I'm going to let Michael tell us more about that, because he is also the founder and director of the UFO iTeam, who are an experienced group of highly educated UFO paranormal investigators who travel to hot spots around the world to investigate UFOs, Bigfoot, ghosts, and other paranormal activity. Joining me now is Michael W. Hall. And Michael, welcome to the X Zone.
Oh, thank you so much, Rob. I am really excited to be here. I think you and I have quite a lot in common. Literally, we were born in the same year, 1952.
That's
so
right. Yeah.
We can relate a little bit.
We sure can. They were the good old days.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, Michael. You've got an esteemed law career under your belt. I believe you're retired, but you also represent a number of people within the UFO community, including Grant Cameron, Chief Petty Officer Kevin Day of the USS Nimitz, and even Peter Davenport of the National UFO Reporting Center.
Yeah, you got it. I go all the way back to what was it, 1974, I was a field investigator for APRO.
My goodness.
Jim and Coral Lawrenson out of Arizona when I was in college. And I've always been interested in the paranormal and ufology. You know, people always ask you, did it stem from some major sighting that you had, you know, as a child or when you were younger? It didn't with me. It was just one of those things I was always interested in. I would see those old paperback books, you know, about the UFOs and things, and I would always read them. But then when I became a lawyer over 35 years ago, you know, I kind of brought that into the field and was doing pro bono work all the time for various organizations like MUFON. I've been a MUFON consultant since 1995. You mentioned Peter Davenport. I was Peter Davenport's attorney of record for the National UFO Reporting Center for over 25 years, still am. And even go back with James Harder. I don't know if you remember Dr. James Harder. The ufologist was the first guy to get a hold of Travis Walton after his 1975 alien abduction experience and investigate that case as well. So it just kind of snowballs from there. People get to know you. They trust what you do. And of course, people always ask me, well, what does a paranormal lawyer do? And what do you end up representing people with? And basically, it's, there's a lot of general activity that organizations and individuals run across in just doing legal work, like their 501c3, nonprofit corporations, potentially, contracts and various things that come up that they have to, run by. And they like to have someone who has a little bit of a sympathy to what they're going through, when they're doing all these other legal things as well.
It's always better to have somebody who knows what you're talking about representing you than having somebody who knows nothing about what you're doing and who may at times find you a little strange.
Yeah. And, you can kind of anticipate a little bit because when people come to a lawyer or any kind of a professional like yourself with a problem, it's always nice to be able to project ahead of what they're presenting you with, because they're only coming to you with a certain perspective of what they want to happen. And of course, you want to give them a well-rounded group of advice on this whole thing so they don't get into that mess again or, make things go smoother down the road. So I try to bring that onto the table when we're dealing with, other organizations and investigations, especially, when you're dealing with private property, when you're dealing with government organizations, and those kinds of things. You got to kind of keep an eye out for your client.
That's right. And it's, once again, you need to have somebody on board who knows what you're doing and how the law applies to something that you may want to do, and to have your best interest at heart. Yeah.
No, you got it. Here's a great example for that, Rob, is that, there's a lot of people that like to go ghost hunting and investigating. And I always try to remind a lot of my ghoster groups out there is that, if you're going on private property or property where you need to get some permission ahead of time, and or you need to have a contract with the property owner or potential people that are going to be involved in the investigation, you might want to have something in writing ahead of time just to make sure that you're not going to run into a problem halfway through your investigation that you didn't anticipate at that time. So lots of different things pop up.
So have you seen a UFO since you started being a UFO investigator?
Oh, yeah.
You have?
I have. Matter of fact, people would ask me, what's your experience in sighting? What's your experience? And of course, I would always say, well, like anybody else, you always see these unique lights in the night sky. Potentially, even during the daytime, you might see something that's a little bit anomalous and unexplainable. But gosh, ever since I think about 2012, it all opened up for me as far as an actual personal sighting of something that was quite unique. And if we've got time for maybe a 5-minute, overview, I can give you that sighting report that I had.
Sure. Why don't we do this when we come back from a commercial break that we have to take in about a minute from now? But right now, let our listeners know how they can find out more about the work that you and your UFO iTeam do.
Wonderful. Yeah, you can always find us on YouTube at UFO iTeam, and that's what we do is we spell that with a lowercase I in the middle of capital letters with UFO and team. So UFO iTeam on YouTube and Facebook. We have a massive Facebook page with lots of video of anomalous objects and various technical gear that we use out in the field.
All right, stand by. You and I will be back on the other side of this short commercial break. And Exonation, once again, my guest is Michael W. Hall. And as Michael was telling you, if you'd like to find out more information about Michael, who is known as the Paranormal Lawyer, and his UFO iTeam, visit their website at www.ufoiteam.com. This is the X Zone, a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And the X Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern, right here on the X Zone Broadcast Network from our studios in Niagara, Ontario, Canada. If you'd like to send me an email, it's very simple. The same email address for the past 30 years, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. We'll be back on the other side of this short break. Don't go away. Exonation, my guest this hour is Michael Hall, and Michael is known as the Paranormal Lawyer. You can find out more about Michael and the work that he does along with his UFO iTeam at www.ufoiteam.com. Michael, before we went to the commercial break, you were going to tell us about an encounter or a sighting that you had, but we decided to hold it on to the other side of the break so that we wouldn't disturb you while you were telling our audience about your experience. So please, go ahead.
Okay, wonderful. This was January 10th of 2012. I am coming home, or actually I'm attending my son's middle school parent meeting, middle of the winter, January, out here in the Pacific Northwest in the Seattle area where I live. So everything's dark. I get to the meeting, about 6:45, and sign in on the parent sign-in sheet like we normally do. And the reason I decided to make sure I did that and took a picture of the sign-in sheet was that at the time I was going through quite a involved divorce.
Oh,
it was
gosh.
kind of terrible. And of course, you always have to prove that you're involved with your kids' lives and those kinds of things. So a meeting starts at 7 o'clock, goes an hour and a half, and is over at about 8:30. And fortunately, I live about 4 minutes away from the school. So I'm jumping in my car, driving home, get out in front of my house, and lo and behold, there was a beautiful full moon that night. Very clear, no stars, no clouds, just a beautiful moon hovering over my house. And so I decided, for some reason, to take a picture of it with my iPhone 6S. And of course, everybody knows that if you're taking a photo of the moon, it's not going to be very impressive. But I decided to do it anyway, and I took 2 photographs, 1 second apart. I didn't think anything of it and went inside the house for the evening. In the morning at my office, the first thing I do is plug my phone into my laptop to keep it charged up during the day. And when I do that, it prompts me, do I want to download to the computer the new pictures that I took in the interim? And they always, prompt you to do that. So I do that and click it. When suddenly those 2 photographs or at least the first one, became much bigger on my laptop screen than on my phone. And I noted on there that there was a strange red dot hovering above my house and below the moon. And I'm going, what the heck is that? Because I wouldn't recognize any street light that would match that, or anything in my neighborhood that would match that light. So I try to speed this up and make a long story short. I put it through some enhancement app that I have called Aviary, by the way. Really cool free app. You can throw your photos on there, and it will lighten it up or do whatever you need. And all of a sudden, there seems to be a structure, a triangular structure, hovering, in the around this red dot. The dot seems to be in the middle of a kind of not an equilateral triangle. This would be an isosceles triangle, equal on both ends, but slimmer, almost like a lava lamp shape, hovering below the moon and above my house. And so now I'm really freaking out, going, what the heck is this? So I go to my camera roll real quick, and I go, well, something's got to be wrong here, and I look at my camera roll, and to my great surprise, all of a sudden I realized that that photo that I took of the sign-in sheet for the parent meeting the night before seems to be the last photograph on my camera roll, which it shouldn't have been, because that was what I did first before I went home after the meeting, and then took these 2 pictures of the moon. So then I get real curious, and I start figuring out that if I download these photos to my laptop and I right-click on the images, there's a whole lot of metadata that you can see about your photographs. It will tell you what time of day they were taken, what direction, and GPS coordinates that your photographs are taken. The long story short is that these photographs, the 2 photographs of the structure below the moon, seem to have been taken 17 hours earlier than I thought they were taken when I came home that night. I thought it was about 8:37 p.m. or so, but the metadata on the thing says they were taken at 3:37 a.m. on the same day of January 10th, 2012. Now, here's the deal. I'm not doing anything at 3:37 in the morning. I have sleep apnea. I have a CPAP machine I sleep with. My phone is on the next to my bedstand all night long, and there's no way I would have been taking any photographs at that time,
Right.
as far as I know, let alone have this thing look like literally some kind of a craft hovering below the moon. So anyway, that's my strange story. There's a whole lot of details and corroboration that go along with that, because, as you know, I'm an attorney. I've got this left brain and right brain thing fighting each other, and I always want to have analytical proof of anything that I talk about. I love stories. I love anecdotal stories of people citing reports, but I literally have some interesting data to back up this claim that I'm making. So I don't know what the heck happened yet on that photograph, and I'm still, looking into that. I've done at least one hypnosis regression that said some strange things were going on, but I'm still trying to figure it out.
Tell us about Grant Cameron's the Admiral Wilson UFO smoking gun memo.
Oh, I tell you what, Rob, this is, I predict that in the future, after disclosure happens, after things really kind of, become well known as far as the general public of the reality of, the extraterrestrial presence on the planet,
right?
That this memo is going to be thought of as the turning point in history on our planet. I can't say too much about this thing. Basically, on January 2nd of last year, 2019, I get an encrypted phone call from my client, Grant Cameron, one of the most famous ufologists of all time, and really been in this field for well over 40 years, saying that he is about ready to drop a major UFO bomb, he tells me in this encrypted text. And he needs to run it by me as the paranormal lawyer. That's all he said. Very short and cryptic. And I'm going, oh my goodness. If Grant Cameron says he's got something huge, it must be huge. So literally, he comes up and sends me this, it's a story that he got a hold of this document from a gentleman who got it from Dr. Edgar Mitchell's estate papers when Dr. Mitchell passed away. Because Dr. Mitchell was on the board of directors for NIDS, National Institute of Discovery Science, with Robert Bigelow, of course, and Kit Green, Eric Davis, the scientist, Russell Targ, all these guys that have been involved in ufology forever. Mm-hmm. This memo purports to be, and I literally had it for 6 months before it was released to the public. So I got a chance to vet this thing page by page, 15 pages of single space type, by the way. It is so jam-packed full of revelations and names and programs and everything that it's amazing that it's even out there. But it purports to be a conversation between Eric Davis, Dr. Eric Davis, a high-ranking government scientist, interviewing Admiral Thomas Ray Wilson, who at the time was the J2, Joint Chiefs of Staff, second in command, who, by the way, was in charge of all the military branches' intelligence departments. You're talking Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, everybody. And this interview is basically Eric Davis asking him about an incident that happened to the Admiral in 1997. The interview took place in 2002 with Eric Davis, but he's asking him about this thing that happened to him in 1997 where he was initially briefed by Dr. Stephen Greer and Edgar Mitchell, and a couple of other naval officers who were in the know and wanted the admiral to realize there are some black projects going on that he had nothing, that he did not know about, he probably should know about. So come to find out, the admiral makes a few phone calls thinking that it was just going to be, a joke, and finds out that there is organizations out there, independent subcontractors for the military that are civilian, with no government oversight, no congressional oversight, no military oversight, that literally are back engineering UFO technology. It's a long story, and a little bit more detail I probably could give you if you're interested. But in reality, this memo says, I'll just cut to the chase here,
okay,
that the Roswell, New Mexico crash happened, that the alien bodies, both dead and alive, were recovered in that incident, that that they have been working on back engineering alien technology from this era, 1947, for decades, and are still kind of stuck in getting all the stuff they want out of this. But there is a portion of the memo that says they have a working craft that can travel through interstellar space in our atmosphere.
Well, listen, we've got to take a fast commercial break. Don't go away. We'll be right back with our guest, Michael Hall. Michael Hall is our guest, Exonation. We're talking to Michael this segment about the Admiral Wilson UFO smoking gun memo that was given to Michael to look at by Grant Cameron, who is the author of Red Star Charlie. and other UFO books. If you'd like more information, first of all, on Michael and his group, the UFO iTeam, www.ufoiteam.com. Michael, continue this very fascinating story.
Okay, thank you for that. I tell you what, this memo is so action-packed. I literally was breaking out in a sweat when I was reading this for the very first time. Grant Cameron told me that he went ashen when he first saw it, because he knows these names that are listed in this document, and he knows the programs that are also mentioned as well. But I was kind of recapping what the document actually says. It basically says that they are in possession, the military now is in possession of a working craft that's interstellar in capability and also travels through our atmosphere. It can travel underwater as well.
Right.
And get this, through dimensions is what it mentions in this document. Admiral Wilson was told by this subcontractor, this civilian subcontractor working for the military, that these craft are not of this world, not made by human hands. Richard Dolan can verify that he saw that language on a 2-page document that was a portion of this 15 pages that he saw about 7 years ago before this document was released. He was shown a portion of it, and he remembers that language, not of this world, not made by human hands. So there you go. I don't know, and a lot of people will in ufology will say, well, so what? We know that their life exists, and extraterrestrials are visiting the planet. But guess what? This is my thing that I need to drive home to folks. This is the very first time we have ever gotten any high-level confirmation of the things that we've always wondered about.
Let me ask you this. How do we know that this memo is legitimate, number one? And number two, it sounds an awful lot like the MJ-12 papers.
Well, it does, except for this. This is very interesting. And when I sent this document initially to Richard Dolan, and he vetted the thing as well and kind of did a really good analysis of it when it first came out publicly on around June 27th of last year. He pointed out what I mentioned as well, is that if you were going to create a hoaxed document, like MJ-12 maybe, or some kind of a memo that you could muddy the waters with, you sure wouldn't pick one that's like 15 pages long, single-spaced.
I don't know about that.
And adding so many people that are still alive.
But have these people confirmed that the information within this memo is true? And have they signed affidavits to the validity of this?
No, no way.
So
Matter of fact,
okay, so let me ask you this as a counselor.
Quiet.
Let me ask you this as a lawyer.
Yeah.
How can you take it for real?
Well, I don't. And of course, I've lived with this document for well over a year now, and tried to vet as much as possible. So what I did is I went through it line by line, person by person that was mentioned, trying to find out things that were like, didn't match up. Are these people real people? Were they who they said they were in this memo at the time this memo was created? Were they in charge of this certain program, in the military, that kind of thing? All those things checked out.
But was the information in the memo as to who these people were, what their position was at the time, was this public knowledge? Could somebody find out this information on the internet?
Yeah. I mean, there were certain, people in special access programs that you would know would be, certain programs that they were running for sure. But Grant Cameron points out as well is that there's a couple of people in there that most of the general public would not even connect with UFOs or ufology.
But somebody who's into the UFO community and has knowledge that the John Q. public would not have would be able to put all this together.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So it is, it's a conundrum for sure.
You also investigate other things. I was interested to see, besides UFOs, you and your iTeam also investigate Bigfoot and ghosts and other aspects of the paranormal.
Yeah, we have a good 15, 20 people in our group that are, of course, have different expertise and interests in the paranormal. We've got a couple hypnotherapists.
Right.
One of them is certified through the Dolores Cannon's School of Investigation. We've got some psychics. We've got some people that are heavily into the Bigfoot thing. Matter of fact, one of our good friends out here in the Pacific Northwest is Ron Moorhead, who was famous for the recording of the Sierra Sounds Bigfoot recordings. So we typically will, go to a location, for instance, like Mount Adams down in south central Washington State, and we'll do a double duty thing where we'll do our sky watches for UFOs with our technical equipment and gear, and we'll also do the Sasquatch, kind of investigation as well. They seem to, as a matter of fact, Ron Moorhead says, they seem to have some kind of connection between the two. So we're interested in finding out about that as well.
What kind of evidence have you and your team been able to collect to prove that Sasquatch is real?
Well, like anybody else, you've got the foot casts, footprint casts that are just very unique. Dr. Meldrum is the guy that kind of gets into the real details of analyzing the footprints, for mid-tarsal breaks and those ridges that are kind of like fingerprints on these toe prints and those kinds of things, where that's probably as close as you can get. And then of course you've got Melba Ketchum, who has been doing the research for the DNA of this creature that seems to be a hybrid of some kind. The mitochondrial DNA seems to be of a woman, but the nuclear DNA seems to be something else that's not human. So, there's just a lot of questions. There's, of course, anecdotal evidence of people, seeing these things, and there's also fuzzy video. But, there's enough of that out there you run across when you're in the field with pretty credible folks, including law enforcement personnel, that would be telling you that there's something to this.
What kind of equipment do you use when you and your UFO iTeam go out to Skywatch?
Well, thanks for asking, because I tell you what, I think we are on the cutting edge of that whole idea of recording video data and different kinds of scientific data as far as proving anomalous objects and showing what we have up on our Facebook page and YouTube pages at UFO iTeam. We try to share all of that. We have night vision cameras. We have FLIR photography. We have stop action photography. We have a gentleman. We have two real technical guys on our team. One of them is named Lee Strauss. He's our mountain man camera guy that will schlep a whole group of cameras up to 15,000 feet and set up there all night long. And then we've got Dave Mason also, who is a real technical guy, has his own electronics company out here in the Pacific Northwest, who has invented a pair of binoculars that literally will take the light signatures from a star, from a shooting star or the ISS station, or even a commercial airliner,
right?
Turn them into audio, turn them into sound, light into sound. And so what we'll do is run that sound through an oscilloscope analyzer, and basically we can pinpoint, well, this is a commercial airliner, this is a satellite. We can pinpoint what these things are through the sound and light frequency. But here's the kicker. You're going to love this. We have the capability now of taking that sound signature that's anomalous, turning it back into light, and sending it out in a diffused laser directly back to the object that's emitting it. So what we're hoping is that we're going to set up a CE5 scenario where we are literally initiating potential contact with anomalous objects in the night sky.
Is there any chance that by sending back a laser beam to something that could very well be a UFO could be misinterpreted as a hostile action?
Well, we've thought of that, of course. We're thinking...
Exonation, Michael Hull is our special guest. His website is ufoiteam.com. And first of all, Michael, thanks so much for joining us. It's been a great pleasure. We'll have to have you back on again because I'm sure you've got plenty more stories that you can share with our listeners.
Oh, definitely. I'm really enjoying it.
All right. Listen, why do you think that disclosure hasn't happened yet?
Well, obviously, there's been some trepidation ever since probably the 40s, when the major wave seems to have hit our country, that they didn't know what these things were, so they had to keep it secret. But I'll tell you what, Rob, as you can probably tell, in the mainstream media now, there has been seemingly a green light given to the idea of red-pilling the public on UFOs. Ever since the New York Times article coming out in December of 2017, it's been like gangbusters, with the new television shows on the History Channel, Discovery Channel, the Navy coming out with new guidelines for their employees and personnel to report UFOs. The Nimitz UFO encounter is now all over the news, and it happened in 2004. So why now are they bringing it out, into the general public? So I think that there's probably a concerted effort now to really get something going as far as bringing people up to speed about UFOs and the presence of them in our atmosphere.
But where's the evidence? Where is the smoking gun? If we have so many people watching the skies, so many ufologists out there each and every night, and all the research that's gone on, and yet there is no smoking gun.
Well, it's one of those kinds of things that if indeed the U.S. Navy, who just recently came out a few weeks ago and says, yeah, we've got more material on this Tic Tac UFO that we can't release to you. Matter of fact, they had the Tic Tac footage of these UFOs in 2004, and they didn't release it. So, there is smoking gun memos all over the place out there, I believe, that have just never hit the public, and they won't do that until they want to.
This almost sounds like a PR game that somebody's playing.
You got it.
It's something something just doesn't seem right about the entire thing. We know, for example, that the military has been working with hyperspace vehicles for years now. I remember when the Aurora was first discovered, people thought that it was a UFO. I remember the Pegasus launches that NASA was doing off the coast of Florida in the Gulf. People thought they were UFO, and it caused a big thing. Yes, when the X-Files came out, my goodness, the UFO sightings soared, and with all the hype and hoopla that is being done with TTSA, once again, we're seeing a spike. But where is the proof?
Well, I tell you what, if anyone told me in the beginning of last year, 2019, that these things would be coming out, in the mainstream media on Fox News, the government is talking about a space force and all that kind of stuff going on. I would have been agog at that point that stuff would be happening so quickly this last year. So I just have the feeling that we're poised on something big that's going to be coming down the road in 2020 because of all the productions that I know that are in the works for instance, Unidentified, the television series, the second season, and those kinds of things that are coming down the road.
Well, the only reason they're coming down the road is because there are people out there who want to watch it. And they have to be sensationalized or the people won't watch it. You know as well as I do, because you took journalism and broadcasting, that the media is an entertainment venue. Reality is very rare when it comes to the media. And if it don't bleed, it don't lead. And the media is driven by dollars that they can get from advertisers. So with all the interest in UFOs, ghost hauntings, things that go bump in the night, sure, they'll continue until the market is so saturated that it will fizzle out. So with everything that is going on, I think that the media is doing more harm than good by putting so much programming on that is sheer speculation. Because nowhere, not one of these shows, and even with the reporting of the Tic Tac, can anybody say without any hesitation, based on fact and proof, that these are real UFOs from other planets.
No, you're right there. But one example of the switch in attitude seems to be Dr. Michio Kaku.
Yeah.
This last summer just came out with this revolutionary statement for him and for any other scientist that now the preponderance of the evidence is that UFOs exist, and now it is up to the military and or the government to prove otherwise, that they do not exist. He believes the preponderance of the evidence shows now scientifically with the the flight characteristics and everything of these military things that they've cited, that these things are real. So you wonder why they're coming out now with all of these shows, and why didn't they do that a decade ago? For some reason, something's coming down the road soon, I think.
You want my opinion?
Sure.
It's because digital effects are a lot easier to create now than they were a decade ago.
Well, that's probably true.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, coming from 80,000 feet down to the surface of the ocean in 0.78 seconds, less than 1 second, is hypersonic speeds that no one can duplicate, not even with CGI.
All right, let me ask you this. Yeah. If this Tic Tac was in fact from another planet, how come it wasn't picked up by the radar systems that scour the outer space rims of planet Earth? The defense system. How come nobody picked it up?
That's a good question. The only thing that I can think of is that the Spy 1 radar system that was on the Nimitz, or actually was on the Princeton, which is in the Nimitz carrier group at the time, was brand new. It just rolled out. Something new that they'd never had before. And that's when they started picking up these flights of 5 and 10 of these tic-tac shape objects coming from Catalina Island area down south into Mexico. It's very possible we just didn't have the technical ability, because even in the FA-18 jets, they couldn't lock onto these things. They didn't show up on the radar of the jets that were in the vicinity when they were even chasing them.
But is it also possible that these Tic Tacs are terrestrial craft, experimental craft, deliberately given instructions to see if the aircraft carrier group that included the Nimitz could actually pick them up, and how the pilots would react?
Well, I think that's a slim possibility. I've always thought of that. But the experts that are talking about this say that if it is technology that is well beyond anything that we could possibly think of, with the idea of this hypersonic speeds. They can change directions instantly without any inertia problems, those kinds of things. So anybody that's looked at the flight characteristics say that there's nothing on Earth that we know of anyway that can do that.
I think the key in that entire sentence is that we know of, because I'm sure that we're not privy to even 50% of what the military is up to.
Yeah, I agree with you there for sure.
All right, listen, the time is coming very shortly when you and I must say so long, but let our listeners know once again how they can find out more about you, how they can find out more about your UFO iTeam, and hopefully that they'll be able to meet up with you in person one day.
Oh, I'd love to have them do that. And they can always follow us on Facebook as well. We have periodic meetings on there that anybody can join. But it's UFO iTeam on Facebook and on YouTube. And they can just Google us at ufoiteam.com.
So what do you and your team have planned for the very near future? And we've got about a minute left.
Well, one of the things we're going to do is go back out with the Nimitz UFO veterans. We're going to go do another expedition to Catalina Island to search for those Tic Tac UFOs. So if I find something new out there, some new data, we'll definitely share it with you and your audience. I'm looking forward to that.
All right. Once again, Michael, thank you so much for joining us. Keep up the great work, and it's been a pleasure talking to you. And I look forward to the next time you and I both meet back here in the X Zone. Thank you, Rob. All right, X Zone Nation, once again, my guest this hour has been Michael Hall. And if you'd like to find out more about Michael, visit his website. He is the founder of UFO iTeam, and their website is ufoiteam.com. Now, I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news at 6.5 minutes past the top of the hour as the X Zone continues right here from our broadcast center and studios in Niagara, Ontario, Canada. If you would like to send me an email, it's very simple, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On all social media sites, XZone Radio TV. To find out what, who, what, when, and where, and why is playing on the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. And, of course, on Simul TV is the only place that you can find the X Zone TV channel at www.simultv.com. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break. Whatever you do, don't go away.